The humiliation, Emo Rodriguez, wiped down the espresso machine for the third time that morning. Her movements automatic after 2 years of working the early shift at Brewhaven. At 22, she had perfected the art of making small talk with customers while calculating her remaining college tuition in her head. The downtown coffee shop attracted all types, from construction workers grabbing quick coffee to business executives treating the place like their personal office. The morning rush was winding down when Vincent Cross walked in. Emma didn't know who he was then, just another man in an expensive suit checking his phone with the kind of impatience that suggested the world should revolve around his schedule. His dark hair was perfectly styled. His watch probably cost more than Emma's car, and he carried himself with the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. "Large black coffee, no sugar," he said, without looking up from his phone. His voice clipped and dismissive. Emma smiled despite his rudeness. "Coming right up. Will that be for here or to go?" Vincent finally looked at her, his steel-gray eyes scanning her name tag and uniform with barely concealed disdain. "Obviously to go. Do I look like I have time to sit around in a place like this?" Emma's smile faltered slightly, but she maintained her professional composure. "Of course. Sorry about that." She turned to the coffee machine, her hands working efficiently, despite the sting of his dismissive tone. The coffee shop was busier than usual, several other customers waiting behind Vincent. Emma was focused on getting his order perfect, when disaster struck. The new espresso machine, which had been acting up all week, suddenly hissed and spurted hot coffee directly onto the counter in Vincent's designer shoes. "What the hell?" Vincent exploded, jumping backward as the coffee splashed onto his perfectly polished Italian leather. "Are you completely incompetent?" Emma immediately grabbed towels, rushing around the counter. "I'm so sorry, sir. The machine has been malfunctioning. Let me clean that up for you and get you a fresh coffee on the house." Vincent's face was flushed with anger as he looked down at his stained shoes. "On the house? Do you have any idea how much these shoes cost?" "More than you make in 6 months, I guarantee it." The other customers had stopped talking, everyone watching the scene unfold. Emma felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she kept her voice steady. "I understand you're upset. Let me get my manager and we'll figure out how to make this." "Right? Your manager?" Vincent laughed, but there was no humor in it. "What's your manager going to do? Wave a magic wand and fix the fact that your establishment employs people too stupid to operate basic equipment?" Emma's hands stilled on the towels she was holding. Something in his tone, the casual cruelty of it, sparked something fierce in her chest. "Excuse me?" Vincent stepped closer to the counter, his voice rising so everyone in the shop could hear. "You heard me? This is what happens when businesses hire people who clearly aren't qualified for even the most basic service work. You can't even make coffee without creating a mess." The coffee shop had gone completely silent now. Emma could feel every pair of eyes on her, watching to see how she would respond to this public humiliation. Vincent continued his tirade, apparently encouraged by her silence. "I bet you didn't even finish high school, did you? Probably dropped out to work these dead-end jobs because you couldn't handle anything more challenging. And now honest, hardworking customers like me have to suffer because management thought they could get away with hiring cheap, incompetent labor." Oh. Emma's vision went red around the edges. She had been working 2 jobs to put herself through college, maintaining a 3.8 GPA while dealing with customers like this every day. She had been accepted to law school and was only a year away from graduating. But Vincent Cross, in his arrogance, had decided her worth based on her uniform and minimum wage job. "Sir," Emma said quietly, her voice carrying a dangerous calm that made Vincent pause mid-sentence. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." Vincent smirked, clearly thinking he had broken her spirit. "What misunderstanding? That you're not qualified for even basic service work?" Emma smiled, and there was something sharp in it that made the nearby customers lean in closer. "The misunderstanding is that you think your money makes you important enough to treat other human beings like garbage." The smirk faded from Vincent's face. "Excuse me, you heard me?" Emma said, her voice gaining strength with each word. "You walk in here acting like you own the world because you can afford expensive shoes. You assume I'm uneducated because I work in food service, when actually I'm a year away from graduating magna cum laude with a degree in business and finance. I work here to pay for college because unlike some people, I actually earn what I have instead of inheriting it. Vincent's face was turning an alarming shade of red. How dare you speak to me like that? Do you have any idea who I am? Emma looked him up and down with exaggerated thoughtfulness. Grown man having a tantrum because his shoes got dirty? Someone so insecure about his own worth that he needs to attack college students to feel important? Honestly, I'm not impressed by whatever title you think makes you special. The other customers were starting to murmur approval. One older woman actually started clapping. Vincent looked around the shop, clearly realizing that the crowd was not on his side. "You little brat," he snarled. "I'm Vincent Cross. I own Cross Technology. I could buy this entire building and fire every single person in it without even checking my bank balance." Emma's eyes lit up with recognition, but not the awe Vincent was expecting. Vincent Cross. Oh my God, you're that Vincent Cross. The one who laid off 300 employees last Christmas so you could buy your third yacht. The one who got caught using unpaid interns to do full-time work. It's the one whose ex-wife wrote that tell-all book about what a nightmare you are to live with. Vincent's mouth opened and closed like a fish. He clearly hadn't expected his reputation to precede him in quite this way. "Well then," Emma continued, her voice carrying to every corner of the now-packed coffee shop, "that explains everything. You're used to people being too scared to call you out on your behavior because they need their jobs. Unfortunately for you, I'm not scared of bullies, even rich ones." She grabbed a new cup and poured fresh coffee with theatrical precision. "Here's your large black coffee. No sugar, just like your soul. That'll be $3.50. Vincent stared at her in shock. "You think this is over? You have no idea what you've just done to yourself." Emma leaned across the counter, her smile never wavering. "What I've done is refuse to let someone treat me like dirt because they think money equals character. And you know what the best part is? Everyone in here just watched you throw a tantrum because a college student wouldn't let you bully her. How's that going to look in your boardroom meetings?" Vincent grabbed the coffee, his hands shaking with rage. "This isn't finished. I'll make sure you regret ever opening your mouth to me." "Looking forward to it," Emma called cheerfully as he stormed toward the door. "Have a fantastic day, Mr. Cross." As soon as the door slammed behind Vincent, the entire coffee shop erupted in applause. The older woman who had started clapping earlier approached the counter with a huge smile. "Honey," she said, "that was the most magnificent thing I've ever seen. That man needed to be taken down several pegs, and you did it with class and intelligence." Emma felt her hands start to shake as the adrenaline wore off. "I probably just got myself fired," she said. "Maybe," said another customer, "but you also just became a hero to every service worker who's ever had to deal with entitled jerks like that." What Emma didn't know was that several customers had been recording the interaction on their phones. By lunchtime, videos of her confrontation with Vincent Cross were spreading across social media with hashtags like #CoffeeShopHero and #VincentCrossDown by evening. Emma Rodriguez had become an internet sensation, and Vincent Cross was about to learn that in the age of social media, public humiliation was a two-way street. The reckoning 3 days after the coffee shop confrontation, Vincent Cross sat in his corner office 60 floors above Manhattan, watching his carefully constructed world crumble in real time across multiple screens. The video of Emma Rodriguez, destroying him with nothing but wit and righteous anger, had gone viral beyond his worst nightmares. "Sir," his assistant Marcus stammered from the doorway, clutching his tablet like a shield. "The board wants an emergency meeting. The #hashtag Vincent Crossdown is trending in 12 countries, and our stock price has dropped 8% since Monday." Vincent's jaw clenched as he watched Emma's follow-up video for the 100th time. She had posted it from her small apartment, sitting cross-legged on her second-hand couch, looking directly into the camera with those same fierce eyes that had undone him completely. "So apparently I've become internet famous for standing up to a billionaire bully," Emma said in the video, her voice warm and genuine. Vincent Cross thinks he can intimidate people because he has money. But here's the thing about bullies. They only have power if you give it to them. The video had 20 million views and counting. The comments were brutal. each one a small knife in Vincent's reputation. But it wasn't just social media destroying him. Real consequences were piling up by the hour. Marcus cleared his throat. Nervously. Sir Hartwell Industries just canceled their contract. It's $12 million in revenue. And the Times wants a statement about workplace culture at Cross Technology? Vincent closed his eyes, remembering how confident he had been walking into that coffee shop. He had been Vincent Cross, master of the universe, untouchable in his tower, of money and influence. The billionaire who got humiliated by a college student making minimum wage. His phone buzzed with a call from his father. Charles Cross didn't make social calls. He made declarations of war. Vincent, his father's voice was ice-cold disappointment. Explain to me how you managed to turn buying coffee into a public relations catastrophe that's wiped out $15 million in stock value. Vincent stared at the city below, where billboard advertisements now featured Emma's face, promoting everything from workers' rights organizations to comedy shows. It was a misunderstanding that got blown out of proportion. A misunderstanding? Charles's laugh was sharp as broken glass. Son, I've watched the video. You didn't misunderstand anything. You simply revealed what I've been worried about for years, that privilege has made you forget how to treat people like human beings. The conversation ended with an ultimatum that left Vincent feeling more alone than he had since his divorce 3 years earlier. Fix this, or lose everything. But Emma Rodriguez wasn't finished with him yet. Her second video was posted that evening, and it was different from the first. Instead of anger, there was something that looked almost like pity in her eyes, as she spoke directly to the camera. I've been thinking about Vincent Cross, Emma said, sitting in what looked like a library. Books stacked around her like a fortress of knowledge, and I realized something sad. He's probably never had a real conversation with someone who wasn't paid to agree with him. Vincent felt something twist in his chest. There was truth in her words that he didn't want to acknowledge. Money can buy a lot of things, Emma continued, but it can't buy character. It can't buy the satisfaction of earning something through your own effort. It can't buy genuine respect or real relationships or the kind of happiness that comes from knowing you matter because of who you are, not what you own. She leaned forward slightly, and Vincent found himself drawn into her earnest gaze despite himself. Mr. Cross, if you're watching this, I want you to know something. I don't hate you. I feel sorry for you, as anyone who needs to tear down. A college student working her way through school is someone who's deeply, profoundly empty inside. The video had been viewed 40 million times. The comments were different this time, less angry, more thoughtful. People were sharing their own stories about encounters with entitled customers, about working multiple jobs, about the dignity of honest work. Emma had somehow turned his moment of cruelty into a conversation about class, respect, and human worth. She had transformed his attempt to diminish her into a platform that elevated everyone who had ever been dismissed because of their job or income level. Vincent found himself watching her videos obsessively and follow-up posts. He learned that Emma was indeed 1 year away from graduating magna cum laude. She was planning to attend law school to specialize in workers' rights. She had been working 2 jobs since she was 16 to support herself and help her mother pay medical bills. Everything she had said about herself in the coffee shop was true. Everything she had said about him was also true. 2 weeks after the coffee shop incident, Vincent made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. He drove across town to Brewhaven, not in his usual chauffeur-driven car, but in a simple rental sedan. Emma was working the afternoon shift, and he could see her through the window, moving with the same efficient grace he remembered. She was training a new employee, her patience and kindness evident in every gesture. Vincent sat in his car for 20 minutes, trying to work up the courage to go inside. What could he possibly say to her? How could he apologize for behavior that revealed so much ugly truth about who he had become? Finally, he walked in. Emma looked up from the espresso machine and their eyes met. The coffee shop went quiet. Other customers recognizing him from the viral videos. Mr. Cross, Emma said evenly, can I help you? Vincent approached the counter, feeling more nervous than he had in years. I came to apologize, he said quietly. To ask if you might be willing to have a conversation with someone who desperately needs to learn how to be a better human. Being Emma studied his face for a long moment. Vincent could see her weighing his sincerity, deciding whether this was genuine remorse or another manipulation. My shift ends at 6, she said finally. There's a park across the street. If you want to talk, really talk, meet me there. Vincent nodded, knowing he had been given a gift he probably didn't deserve. Thank you. That evening, sitting on a park bench with the woman who had accidentally saved him from himself, Vincent Cross began the slow process of learning who he could be when money and power weren't his only sources of identity. Emma listened as he talked about the loneliness of always wondering if people liked him or his bank account. She shared stories about the dignity her mother had taught her came from hard work and treating others with respect. Money isn't evil, Emma said, as the sun set over the city, but it becomes evil when it's the only thing that defines your worth, when it makes you think other people don't matter. Vincent looked at this remarkable young woman who had turned his cruelest moment into an opportunity for growth, and felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Hope. I don't know how to be different, he admitted. Emma smiled, and for the first time, it was genuinely warm. Start small. Treat every person you meet like they matter. Listen more than you talk. Remember that everyone has a story that might surprise you. 6 months later, Vincent Cross stepped down as CEO of Cross Technology to start a nonprofit focused on educational opportunities for working students. Emma Rodriguez, who had just been accepted to Harvard Law School, agreed to be his co-founder. Their partnership began with mutual respect, grew into genuine friendship, and eventually blossomed into something neither had expected. Love-based on who they were as people, not what they could offer each other. The coffee shop where their story began now displays a plaque that reads, "Where courage met compassion." And two people learned that the best transformations begin with honest conversations. Emma kept the viral video up as a reminder that standing up for dignity and respect never goes out of style. Vincent kept it up as a reminder that being wealthy means nothing if you're poor in character, and sometimes, late at night, they would watch it together and marvel at how a spilled cup of coffee had changed both their lives forever. *The end.